göze aldık bu defa.
Now, the Syrian government forces have reportedly evacuated over 400 Kurdish fighters from Aleppo's last district under their control. At the same time, around 300 Kurds, including security personnel, were detained and taken to Syrian detention centers. The evacuations took place from Sheikh Maqsoud, the neighborhood that fell to government forces after days of fighting. Video footage from the area saw buses and ambulances carrying men under military escort and heading to northeastern Syria, which is the Kurds' de facto autonomous zone. The ceasefire followed stalled negotiations on integrating Kurdish forces into the Syrian government, and it was mediated by international parties. Earlier, the Syrian army seized Aleppo's other Kurdish-held district, Ashrafia, as part of the push to regain full control of the city. According to local authorities, the fighting has killed at least 21 civilians and displaced over 150,000 residents. Aleppo airport remains closed as authorities continue to secure the city and process the evacuated fighters. Former UK ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, has issued an apology to the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. He's also stated that he would only apologize for his connections if he had known about Epstein's criminal activities at the time or if he had been complicit. Let's listen in.
I want to apologize to those women for a system that refused to hear their voices and did not give them the protection they were entitled to expect. That system gave him protection and not them. If I had known, if I was in any way complicit or culpable, of course I would apologize. When I was with him, when I was in his homes, that would give me any reason to suspect what this evil monster was doing in preying on these young women. Do you really think that if I knew what was going on and what he was doing with and to these vulnerable young women, that I'd have just sat back?
Mandelson was dismissed from his position last year after emails surfaced, which revealed a closer relationship with Epstein than he had ever previously acknowledged. In the emails, Mandelson referred to Epstein as quote-unquote, my best pal, and even advised him on seeking early release from jail. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice has come under increasing scrutiny for its handling of the Epstein case. In a recent court filing, it was revealed that only a fraction of the Epstein files, that is less than 1%, have been released to the public. The release has been delayed repeatedly, despite a federal law requiring most of the documents to be made public by December 19 last month. Moreover, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has also criticized the Trump administration's Justice Department, noting that the released files were heavily redacted and lacked crucial information, particularly regarding the alleged co-conspirators of Epstein. I have Raymond Vickery, international affairs expert and former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce, joining me live from Washington. Raymond, of course, a lot of controversy around the Epstein files. What would you like to say on what we've just shared with our viewers?
Well, thanks very much for allowing me to comment on this. It seems to me that this latest pronouncement by the former ambassador from the UK to the United States emphasizes once again that what is happening under President Trump is not limited to the international sphere. That is, the breakdown of the rule of law, the principles of democracy is very much happening here in the United States. The Congress of the United States, as you indicate, passed a law that said everything had to be revealed by December 19th, and that, of course, didn't happen. President Trump is corrupting and using the supposed Department of Justice, turning it into a department of retribution and injustice. Instead of the equality under the law, there is to be one rule for those who want to cover up transgressions, namely President Trump, and another rule for others that he wants to get as political enemies. And so this is yet another reminder that the rule of law, the principles of democracy and human rights are inseparable in terms of domestic and international affairs. And it behooves people who are committed to democracy and rule of law to take action. I believe that help is on the way in the United States in the form of the midterm elections this year. And I have every hope and prospect that we will return to a path of democracy and rule of law instead of heading the other way. But the Epstein situation is symbolic of what is happening in this country. Instead of having a lawfare, it is turning law into an element to protect those who've transgressed and those who have not
Raymond,
been
I'll just have to
involved.
interrupt you for a second because I want to bring in Mark Sutherland, geopolitical commentator, joining me live from London. Mark, the same concern, really, the same issue. What would you like to say on it?
Is a very, very interesting character. If you go back to the Tony Blair when he was elected, Mandelson ended up having cabinet positions where he was kicked out, had to resign twice in regard to that. The fact is that as far as I'm concerned, in my humble opinion, Mandelson knew about Epstein, knew about what was going on, and should not have been appointed to that position in Washington whatsoever. It was a complete embarrassment to the Prime Minister of the UK, Keir Starmer, but then again, there are so many times that he's actually putting foot in it and not being informed properly or denies that he is. Mandelson is a Labour Party grandee. You only have to look historically in regard to his family links. And in my humble opinion, many other people knew what he has been, the friendship there, which is profoundly inadvisable whatsoever. In regard to Epstein, and I respect what Raymond is saying, the key is this: is that there are charges to answer, there is behaviour to answer for, and many people, including through links that I have in the US, there are people that I am aware of that have suffered at the hands of this particular gentleman and all of his behaviour and all the other things that were then going on. So all those people need to be heard, and they are, and they're not on this side of the pond establishment. People do not want to have those unfortunate discussions in regard to Prince Andrew and who he then is friends with. The photos, other things actually then show that. But just coming back to Mandelson,
Mark, I'll have to interrupt you. We're really short of time, but I'd like to thank you both for joining me on the broadcast. Now, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has departed for India, where he's scheduled to hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi